Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk about the Game Awards, more specifically in the terms of DLC being included for Game of the Year nomination. So honestly, I don't really care about the Game Awards in terms of awards. I just think like it doesn't matter what game wins Game of the Year. Usually the lists on the Game of the Year nominations are games that people really enjoyed and have high praise for. But this year is especially different given they're considering Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree DLC as Game of the Year worthy. And there's been people going back and forth whether or not it should be included into the category. And I am on the camp that it doesn't. And look, I loved the DLC. I think it's one of the best DLCs I've ever played. And it honestly could have been its own game if From Software really wanted to. But at the end of the day, it is not. It is the DLC. You can't play the DLC without owning the base game first. And honestly, because of that, it should not be included in Game of the Year. I don't know what Jeff Keighley is thinking. I don't know if From Software, like he's that die-hard of a fan of the studio like he is with Kojima, that he's willing to sway in their favor in order for them to get Game of the Year again. But honestly, there's been people that's been saying for years that the Game Awards is rigged. You know, the people on the panel are biased and will nominate certain games but not other games for political reasons or other reasons. Like, who knows? But I do believe because Shadow of the Erd Tree is being considered for Game of the Year, that it kind of is insinuating it's a little bit biased and rigged. Like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's gonna win. Because, like, why would they include that DLC in Game of the Year when it's DLC? The category is called Game of the Year, not downloadable content of the year. If Jeff Keighley wants to highlight Shadow of the Erd Tree among the Game of the Year list, I think he should create a different category called Download Content of the Year. That way they can highlight the best DLCs that came out this year and then also have the best Game of the Year. But I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, I mostly watch the Game Awards for the trailers that come out for the upcoming games or game announcements. Even though I don't care much for game announcements than I do for actual gameplay being shown for the games that are on the Game Awards, because I'm not 15 anymore. CGI trailers don't really get me all riled up anymore. Like, I don't get excited for them anymore. So like when they showed off the Fable teaser, even the Dragon Age Veilguard or Vanguard, whatever it was called initially, like I didn't care about the announcements at all because it's just CG trailers. I was like, if you're gonna show me something and you want me to get excited for it, I need to see actual in-engine gameplay. Like, it could be like edited or whatever, you know, cuts or whatever, but as long as I get to see a glimpse of what I would experience in my home, that's what I want to see. Not the CG trailer that's just a concept of what you want to convey to us. I need to see actual real live gameplay. But going back onto the topic of Shadow of the Erd Tree, like I said, I played through it, I beat it, and I loved it. And I honestly think it might be even better than the original game. But even though the original game is a 10 out of 10 game, the DLC is a 10 out of 10 DLC. But what really is bothersome for other people and even for myself, there have been incredible pieces of DLC that have come out in the past that weren't even considered for Game of the Year because it shouldn't be. It's a DLC. So the one that comes to mind for me is Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the Torna, the Golden Country. That is an amazing standalone expansion, and that expansion is standalone to the fullest, where you don't need the original game to play it. And it's recommended you play the original game to understand the story and the characters, but if you just want to go into that standalone expansion, you can. And just like Uncharted The Lost Legacy was intended to be downloadable content for Uncharted 4, it became its own standalone expansion. You don't need Uncharted 4, and you can play The Lost Legacy by itself. But games like that weren't considered for Game of the Year back then, so why should Shadow of the Erdtree be considered for it now? It makes more sense to just create a new category and get rid of a category nobody cares about, like mobile games or Keighley, his Game Awards show. It's cool that they highlight those categories, but they don't highlight them in the respect as they should be, because there's so many awards that the Game Award has that there's not enough time for them to go up to the stage, give congratulations, and give an acceptance speech. And because of that, I think it's pointless to have all these different categories if you're not going to show them to the same standard as the Game of the Year or any of the other categories. So I think what Jeff Keighley should do is to reduce the amount of awards that are in the Game Awards, so that way we can shorten the length of the Game Awards itself and keep it more like quality instead of quantity, and really give people the respect that they deserve for winning the award, and they can give their acceptance speech. So I think he should get rid of a couple of, or even just one category, and make that downloadable content of the year category a thing. That way people can't be confused on which category is what, because why would you do that? So either Jeff Keighley should do that, or he should just change Game of the Year to base gaming content of the year, or playable content of the year, something on the lines of that. Because if you're including a DLC into the Game of the Year list, it makes no sense to call it Game of the Year anymore. You know what I mean? So I know this is kind of late already, and the news that broke out for the Game Awards was, I think, Monday or last Monday, something like that. But I wanted to really give you my thoughts on the topic and then ask you what you're thinking, because I do think it's pretty ridiculous. And of course, I will be tuning in to the Game Awards just for the trailers. I don't care what wins Game of the Year, but I will kind of be like, maybe it is kind of rigged if Shadow of the Erdtree wins. So that's all I have to say. And once again, tell me what you think. All right. Thank you and goodbye.